Computer overview. At a glance. 1. Input process output cycle. 2. The computer system. 3. Hardware and software. 4. A look inside the CPU box. 4. Limitations of computers. The computer is an electronic device which accepts input in the form of data and instructions. It processes the data according to the instructions to produce information or output. 1. Input process output cycle. The computer works on the basis of the input process output cycle. In the picture you can see. First, input. Here input is data plus instruction, for example typing in the keyboard, talk using the computer or laptop MIC. Second, process. Here it is CPU, Central Processing Unit. Finally, output. Here output means the monitor, printer, etc. Data is a collection of words, numbers, sounds and pictures entered into the computer by input devices. For example, 2 plus 3 equals 5, etc. Are data. They do not give us useful information. Instructions are given to the computer in the form of programs or software. When a set of data is processed in a meaningful way according to the given instructions, it is called information. For example, 2 plus 3 equals 3. The computer system. A computer system is made up of input, processing, storage and output devices. Input devices such as the keyboard, mouse or touchpad accept input from the user. The Central Processing Unit, or CPU, is the main processing device in a computer. It is placed inside the CPU box. It processes data according to the given instructions. It also controls the working of the computer system. That is why the CPU is also called the brain of the computer. In the right side you can see the picture of a CPU. The computer uses storage devices such as the hard disk, pen drives, CDs and DVDs to store its works. Output devices such as the monitor, speakers and printer produce output in different forms. Hardware and software. The computer system is made up of hardware and software. Hardware is the physical part of the computer that you can touch and see. For example, the monitor, keyboard, CPU, mouse and printer are hardware. All hardware parts are connected to the CPU. In the right side you see a computer hardware picture. Software are the instructions and programs that make the hardware work. For example, operating systems such as Windows and programs such as Word, Tux Paint, etc. are software. Bits and bytes. The term software was first used by John Tukey in 1957. Below picture shows the Paint program. It is a software. Did you know? In 1936, the Russians built a computer that ran on water. It was used to solve problems related to cracks in concrete. The hardware and software must work together for the computer system to function properly. A look inside the CPU box. The CPU box is an important part of the computer system. The CPU box contains a sheet called the motherboard. The motherboard acts as a base for a large number of electronic items, including the CPU. The motherboard also provides connectors for other peripherals. The CPU box also contains devices which store information, such as the hard disk and CD or DVD drives. In the left picture you can see the CPU box. Right picture shows inside the CPU box. 1. CD drive. 2. Hard disk. In the picture you can see inside CPU. Motherboard stays inside CPU. With motherboard also have fan, memory chip. Central Processing Unit, or CPU. The Central Processing Unit or CPU is the main hardware component of a computer. All parts of the computer system are connected to the CPU. All the work of the computer is carried out inside the CPU. Hence, it is called the brain of the computer. The CPU has three main units. 1. ALU or the arithmetic logic unit. It does all the arithmetic calculations. It means all mathematical calculation. 2. CU or the control unit. It controls the flow of information between the different parts of the computer. 3. MMM or the main memory unit. It stores information. In the below picture you can see ALU, CU, and MMU. All three are actually microprocessor. Left side is the input and right side is the output. Limitations of computers. 1. Computers are machines and have to be given instructions at each step. Without instruction cannot do anything. 2. Unlike humans, they cannot think on their own or take decisions. If they receive wrong instructions, they will give the wrong output. 3. Also, computers cannot create on their own. They simply follow instructions. Let's summarize. 1. The computer works on the basis of input, processing and output. 2. Input devices accept data and instructions. 3. Data is a collection of words, numbers, sounds and pictures. 4. The action performed by the CPU on data is called processing. 5. The result obtained after processing the data is called output. 6. Storage devices such as the hard disk and pen drive store the work of the computer. 7. Hardware is the physical part of the computer, whereas software refers to the instructions and programs that make the hardware work. 8. Inside the CPU box, we find the motherboard, CPU, hard disk, CD and DVD drives. 9. The motherboard holds the CPU and provides connectors for other peripherals. 10. The CPU has three parts, ALU, CU and MMU.